Welcome back to Gambit Guide, and today starts a new series of lecture about fantasy gambit in the Caro-Kann defense. So after e4 and c6, in our previous course about the Caro-Kann, I teach you to play after d4, d5 the Panov attack, or Botvinnik attack, how we call it, after e takes d5, c takes d5 and c4. However, there is another interesting gambit line which starts with the move f2 and f3. White is not just protecting the pawn on e4, but also ready to sacrifice immaterial in case of black going for the main variation of the fantasy gambit. So this gambit was developed, I would say, about 100 years ago by Tartakower and Marozzi. And the main idea is that after d takes e4 and f takes e4, black has just extremely dangerous resource, and to play e7, e5, counter-attacking white's center instantly. In that case, white has no time for recapture the pawn after d takes e5, since queen h4 check just deadly attack white's king. And the weakness of the e1 h4 diagonal is just critical for white's king. So after queen h4, g3 and queen takes e4, white is just going to lose the rook on h1. Definitely after d takes e4, white can try and to play just simply knight c3, going into the some kind of the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit, which also we studied. In that case, after e takes f3 and knight takes f3, so white would get just quite serious compensation for his sacrificed pawn. However, white could just continue f takes e4, e5, and now not to capture on e5, but to play knight f3 in the gambit style. So white is sacrificing the pawn because after e takes d4, once again, is not so great recommendation for white to capture on d4 with the knight, since once again queen h4 is very unpleasant. So white is going to lose the pawn on e4 without any compensation. The move like queen takes d4 is just simplifying too much the position, so without queens, white has no any advantage. Only isolated pawn on e4 could be a serious problem in the forthcoming endgame. That's why after e takes d4, we are not capturing the pawn, but continue developing our pieces and playing bishop c4. And this is the main position of the fantasy gambit. So strangely enough, from, I would say, quiet Caro-Kann defense, we arrive to the very unbalanced position in which white is having better development, controlling the center, e4, e5 square, so bishop just posed towards the f7, which is the weakest spot in the black's position, and white is having as well semi-open f-file, and like in the king's gambit, we have just great opportunity to develop our strong attack on the king side. Let's after bishop c4, black has a few alternatives, of course. Black can play knight f6, black can also play bishop e7, black could try also continue playing c5, protecting his pawn on d4, and black also could play move like bishop b4 check. So it's just a few interesting examples. I would like just to show you that there is quite difficult for black to play in this position. So white is having long-term initiative.